Hi, welcome to this week's video. This week's video is about visual literacy. Now, I've talked a little bit about visual literacy in class, and I just thought I'd take this opportunity to make another video to go into depth about some other aspects about visual literacy. Now, when I talk about visual literacy, we're talking about the way that we use images to decode, understand, and interpret texts. Now, we're not going to go through all the different aspects of visual literacy today, so I thought I'd pick half of them this week and do the other half next week. So, the ones that we're going to focus on today are about using how we use modality in text, about demand and offer, about salience, about angles, and about vectors. Okay, let's get started. Now, the first one we're going to focus on is angles. Now, when you're looking at a text, whether it be a picture book or a advertisement or something else, there's different angles that the person might use to try to convey a different message. If there's a high angle, so it's on top of the participant, so the person who's in it, now usually that means that you have the power, so they're looking up for you, they're weaker than you, because you're on top of them, you're taller than them, you're above them, so metaphorically, like physically you're above them, but also metaphorically you're also above them. They're in a position of weakness. So if you see a high angle, that doesn't always mean that, but lots of times it does symbolize that idea of power. If you're on a low angle and you're looking up, it's usually that that you're the weaker one because you're looking up at someone who is in that position of power. So if it's from a low angle, it usually it's got that idea about power, or it's like you're little, or that you're weak in something like that. That, like I said, it doesn't always mean the case, but a lot of the time, if there's a person we're supposed to be in their perspective looking up, it does symbolize that either helplessness or something like that. And then if we're just at a normal eye level, lots of the time that just has equal power, that we're just looking at it and that no one's in any sort of position of power. So I'll give you a few examples of this. Now, the first two over here are the low angle, and they're taken from the bottom and us looking up. Now you can see that there is that idea about weakness, like that the helplessness. So we've got these little rats, or whatever they are, mice, who are looking up at this huge door. Now the perspective of this door is to make it look really, really big. And this idea of helplessness, that it's this far above them, and then we're down there with them. This idea of weakness. So it does do the idea of that there is some sort of power struggle there. And then we have this one down here about this man standing there looking off to the distance, and we're looking up at him like he is in a position of power and we are below him. We have the idea, the one in the middle, we have the eye level ones, and that really doesn't have any sort of power. They're just showing us what's going on. So in that one, it's an equal sort of power struggle. Now over on the other side, we have this idea about you being in control. The picture here is taken from above this boy, so there's an idea that you have some sort of power over him, and that there's some sort of control. And down here, you're so far above these people, it's like they're just little and insignificant, and this idea that they're so not important. So this is one way. Different angles are a way that you could use it if you're creating a text, or if you're trying to interpret a text. One way that people might try to, the author or illustrator might try to show you some sort of power in some sort of relationship. Now we come on to demand and offer. Now, I might have given you the wrong impression in class when we did demand and offer. I think I said more that if something's close to you, it's more of a demand, and if it's further away, it's more of an offer. Now, that is true to an extent. That is half true, but however, when we talk about demand, we really talk about someone who's close, but also someone who's staring straight at us. They're demanding us to look at them. You can't look away because they're looking at us, and you feel like you have to look back. It is quite confronting, this sort of demand, because like it says, it demands you to look at them. So it is quite confronting, and it is a very interesting style. And also, I guess it also depends on how they're staring. If they're really staring like this, then the demand would be confronting. It doesn't always have to be confronting. But basically, it's looking straight up to you and they're demanding your attention. However, an offer is something they could be close to you, but they're staring off into the distance, or they're not looking at the camera. So you have these two here. If this was in a picture book, now I couldn't find any photos in a picture book when I was looking at it to show you, so I just thought I'd show you some other things so this would be what it would be considered an offer if that was in a kid's book. Someone who's not staring straight into the camera. Now it is a little bit less confronting, because although we can see them, we can look at them and not worry that they're looking straight back at us. So it is less confronting. So if you do see this would be considered an offer, and the other one where they're staring straight up to you would be considered a demand. Okay. Now we'll talk about modality. And we talk about how modality. When we talk about modality, we talk about how real the image is. And I know we talked about class about that also has an impact on the age group and about how serious we can take something. If there was something where it was a low modality and it was a war thing and they were like cartoonish, it wouldn't feel as realistic to us as if they were real life looking characters, and that's what we were viewing. So it does have an impact. Now the three that I have chosen here, these three pictures here, are very low modality. Now already as soon as you look at it, they're very unrealistic pictures of these animals, especially this one down here. And already just by looking at it, not only is the modality affected by the fact that there's a crocodile with the proportions of the crocodile are out of shape and the perspective of the crocodile, but also the idea that the color is really bright. It's always one color. It doesn't really have the shades of different color or the realistic things. And so it does give that idea about young. You wouldn't have this book for adults. So then we can move on to the higher modality, which is the more realistic pictures. And it does already, when you see it, you do think it's for a higher audience. It does have a bit more respect with it. Now we have a painting here of a baby with its reflection in the beach with a high modality, and this picture here is from the book by Chris Van Allsburg called Jumanji. Now you can see the high modality in this picture. It's so real, and it really does have that older sort of audience. The author and illustrator probably would be their purpose would be to aim at a higher audience because of the high modality, and that sense of realism makes it more realistic. So that would be what would be considered higher modality. Now we talk about salience. Now, salience, when we're talking about that, we're talking about what draws your attention first. Where do your eyes go when you watch? So where do your eyes look first? Where do you look first, and where is your eye drawn? So if we have a look at a few different things, we can think about the way that people do things to see where they want to draw your attention. Now, some of the things that they could do to create something that would help your eyes go to where they want you to is something like size. So have something right up close or something taking over the whole page. Now that does basically makes your attention go to that what's the biggest part of it, because really where else can you look, because it's taking up just that pure size. So if you're having a movie poster with just one character like a Batman or a Superman or something like that, chances are the size will be really big so that you can look straight at it. Or if there's something really, really important on the page in a picture book and that's all they want you to look at, then that's what they'll do. They'll use size. Another thing they could do is a combination of brightness and light, just how they use light to have something. They might have a really dark page with just one part lit up, or a really light page like this one, and they poster for ET, a really light background. Now this is dark, it's at night time, but the moon is so big and light, the shadow of the bike flying through the sky makes your eyes go to that first, because it's like sorry if you heard my dog bark, I apologize for that. That contrast of light and dark really does make your eyes go to that bike first. We can also think about how people use color. Now it's not just about using heaps of color. Usually, once again, it's almost the contrast of color. Having a basic blue color and then having a contrast of just a burst of color in the middle makes your eyes go straight to that. Now, if the whole thing was colorful, if this was all a rainforest with all different colors, now you might not know, your eyes might not go to where they want your eyes to go first. So the idea of having the color without any color around it is a really good way to make your eyes go to where they want you to. And the other idea is having this idea of it being in the center. Your eyes will go to it automatically, especially if what's going around this isn't as exciting. Now, I know there are little other look like robots in the background, but this idea that the light's coming from the middle as well as not really too much going on means your eyes automatically go to Iron Man in the middle. Now these are the ways that a person who's creating this picture will try to structure something so your eyes go to where they want you to go. They want you to look at a certain part first, and that's what these are the strategies they will try and use. So that was the quick video for this week, and what I'm going to get you to do in your Verso homework is talk about some of the visual literacy strategies you can see in here that are on offer. So you might want to pause this at the end before I finish and then have a look at it and talk about some of the things that we've talked about today, whether it be the salience, where your eyes go first, the angles that they've used, the modality that's used, or the demand and offer that's used, to try to talk about how you can get more meaning from this poster. Now, I've got a poster over here of Peppa Pig, and you might talk about something like that in your Verso response. Or over here, we've got a poster of the Maze Runner movie that came out last year. I want you to think really, if you want to add in any other parts of visual literacy that we're going to do for next week, you can add those in too, but I would like you to try and add in some part about angles and where your eyes are drawn first, and the way that the person who's created this has made your eyes go to this part, or why they've done a certain thing. Now, I know you've only got a limited amount of characters you can use, so try to, if you want to focus on one and go into detail, that would be great. And then you can comment on other people's as well if you want to. So try and comment on these two pictures. As I said, you can pause it and have a think about it and go back over the video. And then next week we'll cover the other things about light and tone and all the other things that would be considered in visual literacy. I hope you've learned a little bit from this. And as I said, I'm always keen for feedback, so if you've got any feedback on this video, please let me know. Alright, thank you. Bye.